95.3 WDXE.
That's us, WDXE, the legend, and of course, two legends in the room with me. Two legends in the room with me. Keith Durham and Kevin Smith. You're in here all together.
What does it take to be a legend? You know, I guess that's the question.
Just decide that you are, and you are.
Hey, there you go. I guess start your own YouTube channel, do something like that. Huh?
Yeah. Legend in your own mind.
I guess. Hey, I want to, first things first, Jerry Hughes, thank you for sitting in for me last week. You guys did a great job. I did get to watch online while in the vehicle driving last week. I watched you guys.
Was that safe?
No, I was in the back seat.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
so
was that safe?
Well, if you know how Steve Odom drives, then you got to keep your eyes on the road too, because you're helping him drive the whole time. But no, anyway. Great job last week. I appreciate the guest host. Y'all treating him good.
He was really fun.
Yeah, he's always fun.
Yeah.
He's always fun. And he's always good for a good laugh or two. And
oh, yeah.
He's got a great sense of humor. And so.
Got some good stories.
Oh, yeah, he sure does. And Jerry, if you want to host my show anytime, just come on. I'll take a day off. Just want to also say for the folks out there who've been praying for my daughter, and just thank you for that. She is down at the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville right now, and her and my wife are down there. And she had 2 seizures yesterday, and that's what she's there for, is try to figure out why she's having seizures.
Yeah.
And so she had 2 yesterday, and she's got a great team of doctors and nurses that are taking care of her. And so thanks for all the prayers that's been lifted up, and continue to do that. They'll be there throughout the rest of the week and come home this weekend.
Indeed.
So,
how old is she?
She's 20, be 21 next month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
it's
bless
hard
her
to believe.
Heart. Goodness gracious.
That's hard to believe. But anyway, so Gina, I know they're probably watching online. Hey, Gigi and Amy. And so they are watching online, I think.
Very good.
So I'm going to test our remembrance today, or our memory. You got good memory? So mine is starting to go. What about yours, Jeff? Is your memory?
He said he couldn't remember.
I'm sorry, what?
Jeff, this is Thursday, and we're here at the radio station.
Yeah, listen, I'm.
Did you eat your breakfast?
What breakfast?
Yeah, I think the thing that hits me, and Kevin's been a victim, is names.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I tell you, that's horrible.
I'm just like, what is?
And listen, I went to my last class reunion, and when I got there, they said, "Hey, would you MC it for us tonight?" I said, "Sure, no problem." So the very first thing I said was, "Put your name tag on, and don't assume that I know anybody's name, because I'll just tell you straight up." I do know some folks, but most folks I don't know.
Yeah.
And but for the most part, a lot of people didn't change. But there was one guy. I don't know if you guys remember Keith Mabry. You remember Keith Mabry?
Yeah.
Last time I saw Keith Mabry, he had a white afro. And the last time I saw Keith Mabry, I mean, when I back in school, last time I saw Keith Mabry, he had a white afro. And then the last time I saw him at a class reunion, he looked like Ward Cleaver.
Yeah.
And totally, I mean, he had his hair all nice and combed, and he looked like a business person.
He was black?
No. Ward Cleaver wasn't black.
Huh? Leave it to Beaver?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
He's the dad there.
Yeah.
I'm already,
I'm lost as a termite in a yo-yo.
What are you talking about?
Leave it to Beaver, the daddy.
Yeah, he wasn't black.
He wasn't blonde-headed.
You said he was black.
Black-haired.
Oh, no. Okay.
See how racist you are? You just brought that right up.
No, I didn't. I'm just saying. I
said
thought,
his hair is
Jeff, what did you think? I mean, my goodness.
He had black hair.
Y'all are talking way too fast for me. Anyway.
I may have said
so
that.
It's just.
I don't remember, but.
All right, we'll start off on a good leg. It's
we've not
too late for that. We're hobbling around.
It's too late to start off on a good leg. If you hadn't got your coffee yet, go ahead and drink a cup of coffee.
It's entirely too late to even think about a good leg.
So our memory is fading, I guess. So listen to what my Bible verse says today. Psalm 102, 11 and 12 says this: "My days are like a shadow that declineth, and I am withered like grass. But thou, O Lord, shall endure forever, and thy remembrance unto all generations." So the Lord never forgets anything.
That's right.
Now, I do believe this. I believe that when he forgives you of sin, he throws it as far as the east is from the west and remembers it no more. And so I do believe that. But I believe our Lord has the perfect memory, and which I don't, and none of us do. So let's think about this. Since I've been alive, there's been some events that are world-changing events, and I'm going to give some dates, and you guys think about these dates. And I got one that precedes my time on this earth, and Kevin, yours too. But Jeff, I don't know what year you were born in. What year were you born in, Jeff?
61.
61. So this comes in Kevin's or Jeff's time. So, Jeff, I'm going to ask you this question.
Okay,
November 22nd, 1963. Why does that stick out?
Oh,
for
Lord.
you?
I was 2.
You was 2, so you don't remember that, do you?
Nope.
You remember what happened?
No,
I probably had a dirty diaper.
At 2 years old?
I don't know. I'm just guessing.
And just pretty close.
Get that, boy.
Exactly. Oh, me. Well, that was the day that JFK was assassinated.
Yeah, I don't remember that, I
Yeah,
remember,
you're too young.
A
Yeah,
little
right.
later than that, of course, it's always been in history, and we've talked about it many, many times. But no, I don't remember the specifics.
Yeah, right.
No.
Yeah, because you were way too young.
Too young.
But we probably have some listeners that do remember
Sure,
those things
sure.
and stuff like that. So I'm like you. I wasn't around. So you think that's a conspiracy? I mean, there's been a lot of. If you think about the things that's happened in the past, there's a lot of things that people think didn't happen, and that's or there's a conspiracy around how it took
sure.
place, and I think that's what JFK's assassination was. There's some conspiracies. I mean, no doubt it took place.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because it was one of the most horrific scenes that I can remember being shown on TV. And then it was horrible for the nation. The nation pretty much came to a standstill.
Yep.
And I know that folks that are listening that were alive back in those days and able to understand what was going on. I mean, from the documentaries I've seen, school stopped. They stopped everything. People went home, and they discussed, the things, the events of that day. And so it was just one of those days in history, So I got about 10 different dates that we want to talk about today.
Okay.
And so these are coming up into times that we can remember. All right, so what about August 16th, 1977? Does that ring a bell? Bell bottoms. You have bell bottoms on?
Oh, absolutely.
Did you? Were you a disco kind of guy?
No,
or?
not really. Now, Staying Alive came out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
the Bee Gees are unbelievable.
And the Bee Gees were huge, and it was popular, no doubt. But the popularity went by pretty fast. I'm still much more of a Southern rock, classic rock.
Oh, I see.
That kind of. Now I like some of the Bee Gees stuff. No kid. But now disco in general, I wasn't. No.
So Marshall Tucker, Leonard Skinner.
Marshall Tucker, Leonard Skinner, Southern rock.
Allman Brothers.
Allman Brothers. I
Yeah.
played some
Oh,
Allman
man.
Brothers this morning.
Yeah.
Cool.
And you play some Jerry Reed.
Jerry Reed. And I never did get to it, but I had some Eagles queued up. So
Oh, wow.
Somebody come in and interrupted you. Didn't
so
they?
there you go.
So that was a Tuesday. There's a lot of things that happened on Tuesday. So
Wait, hang on just a second. What year?
1977.
Leonard Skinner.
No.
was-
More earth quaking than that.
More than that. 77. I don't know.
Elvis died.
Oh, Elvis died. Yeah.
So can you remember where you were when you got the news that Elvis died?
I do remember where I was.
All right, so that this is what these events are structured around. These are things that took place during our lifetime that
Let's
you can
remember
pretty
the
much
date.
say, I can remember what I was
Yeah.
doing. So what was you doing?
Well, I had come home from somewhere, and I'd just gotten home, and I didn't know about it. My mother told me.
Oh, okay, so it was.
So when I walked in, she said, "Have you heard about Elvis?" And I said, "No." So she told me, and that was my first wind of it.
So there's a lot of folks out there.
Of course, we didn't have iPhones and internet. I mean, so that was back when people had to tell people stuff.
Oh, it came on. Probably broke in on The Price is Right. Breaking news.
Probably
Elvis
something like that.
dies. So they had different ways of getting
But
information.
no, I was
out.
thinking about the Leonard Skinner plane crash.
Yeah.
Right.
That was. I don't remember the date on that either, but I remember it happening.
You could probably Google that.
Do what?
You could probably Google
I could,
that.
Oh, yeah.
I could now. But
Yeah, figure out what day that is. Oh, me. Speaking of Googling, I teach a Sunday school class, and I'll ask my class every once in a while, I said, "You ever Googled this?" And they're like, I thought, well, do you ever use the internet? Because, when you use the internet, is Google not one of the first landing places for you that you
Yeah,
go?
usually, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I usually start everything.
And I've tried others.
And it's just not as good.
And it's not as good. I mean,
Yeah.
It's just not as good.
And now Google has integrated AI in it, and
It'll guess what you want to know.
yeah, absolutely, it'll guess your next step. So it's pretty cool. And even if you spell it wrong or backwards or whatever, it knows.
And it has to help me there. So
Exactly. So, all right, here's another date. And if anybody in our listening audience knows,
You remember where you was at?
no, I don't. See, that's still too young for me. I was probably on the monkey bars at school. Yeah.
I remember that, man.
You remember where you were when Elvis
Yeah,
died?
I was in the front seat of the car at Jasper, Alabama, on the square in front of Fred's department store.
What are you doing in Jasper, Alabama?
Daddy was Fred's department store manager, and we stopped in there. He stopped in there to check something, and we sat in there, and it come across the radio, and I was like,
So did your dad work at Fred's when y'all moved to town?
no. When we moved back to town, he was working for Bob Surplus.
Oh, okay. Do you know where you remember Fred's being
Bob
across?
Surplus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember that place. That is sold to a guy in Oregon now, right?
I sold that.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. And
So
they're
they making
great
soap?
folks.
Are they making soap over
Great
there?
folks. In fact, he was when we first started this show.
Yeah.
He was my first guest.
Cool.
Dwight Johnson, who came from Oregon, who owns that company. Him and his family are moving here. They're not moved completely yet, and all of their operations not completely here yet. But I helped put that deal together, and
he's got other ideas in
people.
town, too.
Yeah. In fact, he is the gentleman that has bought Ledbetter's.
Yeah. I am so anxious. I heard you guys talking about that a little bit.
So he's a fine. I mean, super Christian people, just great folks. He has 10 children.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
So that's
from
that's a
18
feat
down.
within itself.
How about that?
God bless it.
Yeah.
So that is what they're doing out there, making. I've seen them clean it
Well,
up.
when you got that many kids, you got to have soap.
you got a lot of soap.
Yeah. You got to make your own soap factory.
And by the way, I use their soap, and it is fantastic.
Is it available here?
So I got a good soap story
it's
for
called
you.
Bend soap.
Bend soap.
Bend
Okay.
soap. Yeah.
Cool.
So I'm getting my hair cut last week.
Okay.
Before the race, I had to have a haircut.
Well, you
for
got to
the
look
race.
good.
And you know, I go to Raymond Brown for my haircut. And you know Raymond?
Yes.
All right. So Raymond says that one day him and his buddies were out in the front yard trying to learn how to cuss. And his mother overheard him, and she went to washing his mouth out with lye soap.
Oh boy.
What he was getting at is there was some folks in there with some colorful language, and that's usually not the case at his place. And so he was talking about how uncomfortable he felt with that language going on. And so anyway, he went on to tell the reason why he felt that way, because he got his mouth washed out with lye soap. And
That's a rough taste.
for the time he was trying to learn how to cuss in the front yard. Was there ever a time in your life where you were trying to learn how to cuss?
Well, it seemed to come natural for me there for a while.
Exactly.
You know, that was one of the easiest things I learned to not do.
Well, I tell you, my dad, if you said anything off color or anything like that, he would smack you pretty much. And that was back in the days when you should have got your mouth
I'll
smacked.
tell you a quick story. Of course, my mother, bless her heart, she was a great person and loved us dearly, loved me, took care of me. And I could get away with stuff with her more so. Anyway, I was driving. I had just started driving. Hadn't been driving long. We were in the Buick Wildcat.
Ooh, I had a Buick Wildcat.
Okay, the bench seat.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
Did you ever get in the back window?
we were having some kind of discussion, and I got frustrated during the discussion, and I said, "I've told you 40,000 times," and she thought I said 40 damn times.
Oh,
And I'm driving. She backhanded me this way.
she should have.
And yeah, she should have.
Either way,
she should have.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to drive, and my head's popping. I'm like, what did I say? What did I say? So I've given you two instances now when my dad hit me and my mom hit me, so I'm abused.
But look how you turned out.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, my goodness. I forgot what I
I
was going to
deserve
say.
everything that I got
Oh, yeah. And I probably did, and more.
and more.
So, oh my goodness. So here's one that's going to rock your memory a little bit. And
All right.
This was May 18th, 1980. May 18th, 1980. It's in the summer.
I'm terrible at dates like this. I don't.
Well, it was a Sunday,
Okay.
if that helps out. It was 43 years ago.
Good grief.
43 years ago.
That don't
What
seem
the-
right, does it?
And it would be something that would have.
May 1880.
Ronald Reagan was shot.
No, that's a good guess though. That's
That
a
was
great
a good guess. That was a good guess.
I thought maybe you had a theme going there.
Teresa and I had been married a little over around a year at that point.
Okay. I was still in high school.
So
I
I'm trying to figure out-
I wasn't even in high school
went
yet.
to high school.
I was in grade school or seventh or eighth grade, one of the two. All right, let me tell you what it is.
Yeah, you should have been in 7th grade.
It was the day that Mount St. Helens erupted. You remember that?
Yes.
Man, that was a huge event.
Yes, it was. Everybody knew it was coming.
Oh yeah, and then
They knew it was coming. They just didn't know when exactly.
and they didn't know how far away to get.
And they didn't know.
There was really not a safe observation point, to be honest with you. And then a lot of folks died, or I don't know how many folks died, but this one guy refused to move, and he got buried alive.
Yeah.
And Ash, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my mom was from Seattle, so it really, we watched it. 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
She was from that area.
Your mom's from Seattle?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that either.
So this is a weird story. Okay, let me tell you a little bit of history. So my mom's mother was a Spencer. All right.
Okay.
Her maiden name was Spencer, and her ancestry goes all the way back to Lawrence County, Tennessee. My great grandfather Moses Spencer was one of the founders of Lawrence County, Tennessee.
Really?
Yeah. And he has descendants like I'm kin to Clint Alley and them, and through that, the Brewers, all those folks are descendants of Moses Spencer. And my mom was doing her ancestry and tracked her ancestry all the way back to Lawrence County, Tennessee. Well, my dad is in the military back in the late 50s, and he is stationed in Seattle, and he meets my mom, and they get married and move back to Lawrence County, Tennessee. So it's almost like full circle for her.
That's amazing.
It's really a neat story, And so anyway, it was.
Somebody said this, and I don't know if I believe this or not, but somebody said that we're no more than 7th cousins away from anybody we meet.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. So there's also a rule of is it 6 degrees of separation or 7 degrees of separation? Like between you and anybody in the world, there's somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows them.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the game. 6 degrees from Kevin Bacon. That's what everybody used to play.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so I guess I could apply to about everybody.
I guess it does.
Yeah.
What's up, cousins?
I didn't see you at the family reunion last time.
Yo, cuz. Okay.
So I got some somewhere in my junk. I've got some ashes from Mount St. Helens. I have a vial of them.
Do you
somewhere.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And several years later, back in the 90s, I went out there. And what was weird is that there was back in then. I don't know what it's like today because that's been 20 something years ago, or even more, almost 30 years ago. Everything was still desolate. All the trees were blown over, and they're like toothpicks on top of the ground, but they're all pointing, away from the blast.
Right.
And there was no grass, no nothing. I don't know if it's grown up today or whatever, but back when I went in the early 90s, it was still desolate. I mean, it was unbelievable.
It's pretty unbelievable to think about a whole mountain just exploding.
Yeah, and just being
blow up.
gone. So, all right, here's another one that you should remember. January 28th, 1986. It was cold that day. January 28th, 1986. It was a Tuesday.
86.
January
January
28th.
86.
Now,
I still
we're giving
think
our friends on the listening to us
you'd been
time
a
to
senior.
Google it. I would have been a senior,
You
yes.
would have been a senior. I'd have been a junior.
Yep. And I will tell you, we were not in school that day. It was a snow day for us because I remember where I was.
Was that the ice storm?
No,
No.
this was a national event.
Oh.
These are all national events.
See, that's how much I keep up with it. That's how much
It could have been an ice storm somewhere.
Yeah,
he kept saying it's cold.
it is cold. I mean, it was a snow day for us. We were home from school. That's back when it used to snow,
Oh yeah, back when it snowed.
Back in the old days when it used to snow.
No, Dave.
All right, so in case you don't have an idea,
I don't.
all right,
Yeah.
so that was when the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded during takeoff. You remember that?
Yeah.
So, here's somebody wanting to hear some country
And
music.
they probably knew.
Oh, they probably did.
Yeah.
If you know,
That's
call
a
in.
good idea.
We'll linger a little bit, and if you know these answers, call in.
Yeah,
We'll-
766-9393.
Yeah, so that's when we still got 5 or 6 more, so
Yeah.
they can the audience can play along.
766-9393. If you know, it will help us. That'll help us.
So I remember we're watching the launch. You know, it was a big deal.
Right,
Let's
yeah.
watch the launch.
Well, no, they used to do it in schools and everything. You watched it
Yeah.
as a class.
Yeah, and then that thing blew up. And at first, I didn't realize that it had blown up. You know, I thought, but then it became apparent when they started replaying it.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a snow day for us. I was a senior in high school, and I was sitting in front of the television set at my mom's house, and she still lives in that same house. So, all right, here's another one. If you're listening, you might can call in. August the 2nd, 1990. August the 2nd, 1990. August 2nd, 1990. That's 33 years ago, and you guys will remember this. And isn't it amazing how our memories, you have to jog them sometimes?
Okay, so if anybody knows what happened on August
Yeah,
the
don't be
2nd,
Googling it.
1990.
If you were born August 2nd, 1990, that might be. So this is a national event. I can remember exactly where I was, and this is one we might elaborate on a little bit.
Oh, was it a tragic event?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it was a world event. No clue? Okay, so yeah, I'll reveal
No
it to us.
calls.
So that was the day the Gulf War broke out. Can you remember sitting in, this was back when you could trust CNN. I'll say that lightly.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's when the Gulf War, so it started out as Desert Shield, and then it morphed into Desert Storm.
Right.
And so Desert Shield led up to Desert Storm, and then just a full-out Gulf War. But I can remember, I worked at the Pentagon in those days, and I can remember we didn't leave. Everybody stayed there, and there was an event that took place there at the Pentagon that they have now. You can't do it anymore, and I thought it was pretty cool. And this is just one of those tidbits of useless information. So on the day the Gulf War broke out, the Pentagon had more pizza deliveries than any other time in history. And so you cannot have pizza delivered to the Pentagon anymore. In fact, down in the commissary now, there's pizza places and all kind of stuff. So you don't have to go out for pizza anymore.
Right, yeah.
But if somebody had been pretty clever, they could have figured out something going on, because there's a lot of pizza being delivered to the Pentagon. And
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
So anyway,
I didn't even think about it being that way.
Yeah.
That somebody say, "Hey, there's something going on."
yeah, there's got to be something going on with the Pentagon, because there's a lot of pizza
And the
being
Super
delivered.
Bowl ain't on, so it can't be that.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
So anyway, I can remember going home and just seeing those tracer bullets going up into the air.
Yeah.
And it was really the introduction of the stealth aircraft.
yeah.
You know, people out in New Mexico and Utah and have seen these alien spaceships for a long time. Well, they've been test driving those things for a while. And I'm telling you, those guys who flew those bombers flew right in to enemy radars and dropped those bombs, and they were well within range of being shot down, and they drove right through the middle of it. And it just,
Good
to
to
me,
see.
it was a great time for the United States. It really showed our superiority as far as defense goes, and being able to defend ourselves and being able to stand up for those who are being treated bad in the world and stuff like that. What a great time for America. And I it makes you proud to even be a part of it. And so anyway,
Who was the general during all that?
Schwarzkopf.
Schwarzkopf, that's it.
Yeah.
I-
Storm and Norman.
Storm and Norman. That's right.
Absolutely.
I got tickled because he was showing video, I guess, of the what they call a smart bomb or whatever. He had the video camera showing, and he was showing that, and he looked at everybody and said, "That's your $100 hammers that you've been paying for."
Yeah. Because they were hey, listen, and there was a lot of truth to that.
Well, yeah, you couldn't put that you was developing this on your budget, so you had to come up with.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So anyway, there
I got tickled.
you can't imagine what they've got now.
Yeah.
I don't know myself, but it's
You
just
probably got $150 hammers now.
oh, I'm sure. And what were they? $1,000 toilet seats and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
stuff
Remember
like
those $1,000 toilet seats and things like that. Listen, if you're serving in our military, hats off to you.
And God bless.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm telling you, I've got a great respect. I was not in the military when I served as a civilian and worked for a contractor there, and we had an office in the Pentagon. And man, it was just it was a time that changed my life. I mean, it was more of a job than anything else. You know, I look back on it and think, wow, it's a neat place. And it was, but you know, it really just going to work every day is what it was, you know?
Yeah.
And so.
It's a massive building.
Oh, it's the largest, at the time, it's the largest office building in the world.
Yeah.
It's had 17 and a half miles of hallway.
It's unbelievable.
I have all kinds of little facts about the Pentagon. How many windows were in it and all this kind of stuff.
How many windows?
I can't remember, but there's like 65,000 windows, maybe, something like that.
Yeah, just make up something.
No, I'm not making it up. That's pretty close.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to know.
But we'll get into discussion about that because it was a pretty cool place. And I got to go back. It was back when I was mayor, so it's probably in 2015 or so. I got to go back and I got to look. So I was in. I think I told you guys I was in room 3D 454, and that was I wasn't there, but that was one of the corridors that got hit during 9/11.
Yeah.
And the whole place has changed. And
Talking
it's
about
just,
conspiracies, there's still conspiracies floating around about that.
oh yeah, absolutely,
It's crazy.
absolutely, and it is crazy. So anyway. That's what Thursday, August 2nd, 1990. It was back, you know, and a lot of these things defined us as Americans. It was times when we could come together and have one accord apart from politics and things like that.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I long for those days. And I don't long for days of war, but I long for you know us to get this partisan stuff behind us and become a great nation again.
If everybody would just agree with me, then we'd be okay.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. I'll vote for you, Jeff.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go.
All right, we'll see if
Solve the problem.
this is something that everybody remember. We'll see if our audience remembers this because this is October 3rd, 1995. October 3rd, 1995. And I can tell you exactly where I was on this one, too. October 3rd, 1995. Does that date ring a bell? Do you want to know what day of the week it was?
Yeah.
It was a Tuesday.
How's it work?
You was at work?
Yeah.
Pretty much? Yeah, you might have been on vacation
Not
in October.
Mm-mm.
Fall break? We didn't have fall break back then. When did they start that?
I don't know.
That's great. Okay, here comes somebody. They've Googled it.
Let's see. And good morning. You're on WDXE with us.
Yeah, was that the day of the verdict in the O.J. Simpson trial?
That's exactly right.
The verdict of the O.J. Simpson trial.
Hey, where were you at when you heard that verdict?
Where were you when you heard that?
Oh, I was at home.
You was watching it.
Yeah.
All right.
A lot of it. That's great.
Hey,
That somebody
thank you,
remembers
man.
that. Yeah, thanks for calling in.
Yeah,
yeah,
my wife was glued to that.
Oh, listen, I was too. I was enamored by the whole deal.
I couldn't care less.
Really? So we
Well, I had already concluded what happened.
Yeah.
oh really? Yeah, well,
We know he's guilty.
I didn't have
so
much
the
doubt about
verdict was a shock to you then.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that what you're saying? Or,
Well,
or
yeah.
did you already?
I guess you could say it was a shock.
Yeah, what was the great line from the trial? If a
don't
glove doesn't fit, you must acquit.
You must have quit.
And he puts on another glove before he puts that glove on. I mean, what a great strategy! I'm telling you, that was a great strategy. So
Oh, the glove don't fit.
I can remember we were driving down the road. We'd been to Slidell, Louisiana, and ate. I can't remember if it was lunch or dinner. I believe it was lunch because I was at work, and I was with a bunch of guys from work, and we were driving back to Stennis Space Center. We'd drove out to Slidell. They had an Outback back there, and I don't know if we were celebrating somebody's birthday or what, but we pulled over on the side of the interstate when the verdict was read.
Really?
Yeah, we couldn't even drive. We wanted to. I mean, we had to concentrate.
Man,
So
you really was invested in
yeah, we were on the side of the road.
Man.
So
Oh
anyway,
my gosh.
So you was you happy he was not guilty or
no, I could care less either way. But what got me is I was enamored with the defense. I was really enamored with the defense because they are, you know, Johnny Cochran. They brought Johnny Cochran in and it changed the game.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there was a lot of huge defense lawyers up there. And when they brought him in, I mean, he really changed the game. I mean, and basically he won the jury over when he says if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit.
And he holding that hand.
And how do you ever talk him into, hey, let him put on another glove before he puts on this glove? I mean,
it still amazes me, really.
yeah. But you know what? That's the way our legal
later,
system works.
yeah.
He is innocent, and we're moving on.
But he was found guilty later on.
Of a
In the civil trial, yeah.
of a civil crime, not the one
And
of the
then
capital
stealing his own memorabilia back. He did get caught
Right.
doing that. So.
All right, so here's one. January 1st, 2000. This is easy. January 1st, 2000. Talk to me about that day, guys.
January 1st, 2000.
It was New Year's Day.
It was New Year's Day.
Yeah, I can get that.
So what else was going on in the
Oh, that was all the computers was
Y2K.
Yeah, the
Y2K.
Y2K, yeah.
So did you guys prepare anything for Y2K? Did you do
Not at all.
anything?
Not at
Nothing.
all.
So you're okay if the
Well,
world came to an end or whatever?
Well, I didn't think it didn't worry me at all. I didn't think that was going to happen.
So I didn't either. You know, I had a computer company at that time.
I
And,
wasn't even a computer geek, but I thought that's like nothing's going to happen.
well, the only thing that scares me a little bit is that Microsoft started putting out updates to their operating system. I thought, why in the world would you update your operating system just because the date's changing? Or this is back in the day when you had to change the BIOS on the computer and stuff like that. So every American Megatrends and Intel and everybody like that were putting out BIOS updates for their motherboard. So, you know, when you think about clients, we had Murray, Ohio as a client at that time. It's like you got to go through the whole plant and update every BIOS on every computer that's here. And that was a task.
Yeah.
And not only that, we done a bunch of lawyers and banks in town, and you know, he's trying to get so just the hustle and bustle of it. So I go to Walmart, and last minute I buy a Coleman stove and a cooler. And what I'm going to do with a Coleman stove and a cooler, I don't know. So,
Are you serious?
I am serious. I thought.
But you're going to look like
But
you
listen,
do what you're doing.
there was folks in town. If you remember, there were folks in town that
yeah.
building bunkers up in Etheridge, and
burying school buses.
yeah, and all that kind of stuff,
yeah.
and filling them up full of. I wonder if any of that food is still around, or if any of that stuff still
There's
exists.
still a whole industry of survivalists.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Survivor. Is that what we said?
Yeah, I guess so.
Doomsdayers.
Doomsday.
Yeah,
Doomsday.
There's still
folks.
a whole.
Doomsday preppers is
Yeah,
what it's
the
called.
preppers. Yeah, you can get online and find prepper groups.
I mean, there was some here in
Oh
town.
yeah.
It was just unbelievable. I don't know if the gentleman still is up in Etheridge. Do you have a compound up there or something like that? That's the big word. It's the guy's got a compound up in Etheridge. And was that you?
You know, the government frowns on compounds.
They do. They don't like the word compound.
They don't like compounds.
So here's the best line: if somebody calls you and you don't know who they are, say, "Are you on the compound?" And I say, "What?" So this line's open only for compound use. And
That's good.
oh my goodness. So anyway, we had a lot of fun out of Y2K, and nothing happened.
And
I mean,
nothing
it was
happened.
all that hype and
Disappointing.
nothing happened. I wonder how many people just jumped off the top of the building thinking something's going to happen.
Yeah.
Panic for nothing. All that panic for nothing. All right, so I got one more. Actually, I got two more.
Okay.
September 11th, 2001. Listen, that's been 22 years ago.
22 years ago.
And it happened this week, and that's why I wanted it on the list.
Yeah.
I think we all remember where we were and what we were doing. You remember what you were doing?
Yeah.
at that
Well,
time?
Missy at that time was in high school, and she was on the golf team, and they had a tournament over at Pickwick, and so I was with her on the golf course, watching her play. And when we made the turn, there were people gathered up at the little house there, the clubhouse, and everybody was gathered up around a pretty small TV.
Yeah.
And I was like, something's going on. So I went in, and that's when we got word of it.
So how far into it was it? Well,
Well,
you saw
it had already happened.
the collapse had already happened?
No,
or-
no. The collapse hadn't, but they were still showing reruns of the planes hitting, and I was
Okay.
like, "Oh my gosh!" Do you
Yeah.
remember? I like to think about this. I don't like to think about it because it was a terrible day. But what was your first thought? What was your first thought when you saw this happen?
Okay, so I was driving down the road and I got a phone call, and they said, "Hey, a plane has crashed into the tower," and I thought, "Wow, it's a horrible accident." That was my first thought, is that's a horrible accident, until the second plane hit, and then immediately I said, "That's not an accident. That doesn't happen twice."
Right.
And so,
Maria Christensen.
uh-oh.
What's Maria want?
I don't know. We'll find out.
But what was your first thought? I mean, was it?
You know what? Of course, we were seeing the
Oh, after the.
we were seeing the replays, I guess, because we didn't see it happen as it happened.
Right.
So they were just on the news was just repeating, this is what's happened. And so when I first saw it, I was just like in shock like everybody else. But my thought was, I wonder if the Lord's had enough of us.
Oh, there you go.
That was my thought.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Lord's had enough of us.
Yeah.
And I thought, is this going to be the beginning of, something that would take us to the end?
Well,
That's really what I thought.
yeah, and that's what a great thought that is. But it was a time that as a country we were united. We had started drifting apart because of the things that Clinton was doing in office and things like that, and the great divide between the parties was beginning then.
Right.
But we were all unified. In the effort of whatever it took. I mean, number one, we were unified in the effort of being citizens of the United States, and then the other was to rid the world of what caused that day. And so I think we've lost that to a certain extent here in the United States, and I sure don't want to see another war or anybody get hurt for that to come back, but we need that kind of stuff back. We need that kind of unity back in the United States. But, when I first saw that, I thought, man, what a horrible accident. And then when the other plane hit, I said, well, that's no accident. And then then the plane hit the Pentagon. Yeah. So I wasn't there. I've been gone from the Pentagon for years, but it absolutely destroyed the office that we occupied. And and it went all the way to the B ring. The penetration went all the way to the B ring. So the Pentagon is laid out in 5 rings, A, B, C, D, and E, A being in the center. So the plane penetrated all the way through 4 different rings, or the destruction did. And so it was just devastating, absolutely devastating. So. And then obviously the plane out in the field in Pennsylvania that went down also. So there, here we are 22 years later. And it was almost just another day of the week for us, if you know what I mean. Yeah. We used to celebrate 9/11 and remember those. I'd say celebrate, but we used to honor those who passed away and take at least a moment in memory and stuff like that. But I don't remember any of that kind of stuff happening in the last recent years.
Not necessarily on a local level. I think we do. I normally do, and of course they still read the names. Yeah. Which is, I've watched some of it. I can't say that I've sat through it all or anything like that. But as tragic as that was, and it was tragic and awful, and I mean you can't find words to really describe it. But life must go on.
Yeah, you're right.
We must move on. We must do.
And it was a time, I agree with that 100%. Yeah. But when that happened, I'll give you an example. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's see who's on the phone here. Hey, good morning. You listening to us this morning?
I have. Good morning. How are y'all doing, Jeff?
Good.
Hey, listening to Keith talk about all that in 9/11, I'd like to throw my 2 cents worth in on that.
Okay.
And I know everybody's got their own opinion. And I think that's what's the sad part about it is, we've got some not so good people in this world. But I think that was a setup deal. I know y'all have all flown on an airplane, and you just don't hop on one and just go without any kind of controls or navigation to hit a spot. They started landing those planes about 100 miles out. And they had to have some kind and now this is my opinion, everybody's got their own, but they had to have some kind of beacon in that building for them to hit that building center where they hit it. It just doesn't work that way. And when the building fell, it fell like a demo. It collapsed, and that's where I think they had all the secret documents and stuff, and both of them to hit like where they hit that far out. And I mean, that's my opinion. I think it was a setup deal, But everybody's got
a lot of people feel that way. They do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if you're driving a car, it's a little bit different because you know where you're going. But up in the air, and you're from another country, and you look out the window and say, "Hey, I think I've seen this cloud before. I know where we at now." It just don't work like that in an airplane.
Yeah.
You're up there, and somebody's got to be telling you where you're going, where to turn, and and you can't turn them on a dime like you can a car, But anyway, that's my thought. And y'all have a blessed day, buddy.
Hey, God bless, buddy.
Yeah,
Thank you.
a lot of people think that way. Also, they may have been flying the plane like Pee Wee Sandro did. He flew by interstate. he
Flew by interstate.
Yeah, he just flew over the top of the interstate, and then he just like he was driving the car. But one of the things that it did, that 9/11 did, is so I've been a Gideon for several years now, and Gideons distribute scriptures, and it took the Gideons almost 100 years to distribute 1 billion scriptures, and then after 9/11, it took 2 years to distribute the second billion. So the demand for the Word of God went up, and I think that we can look back and say during it was a time for our nation that we did grow closer. And had a desire. I think we knew that we were in a situation only God could take care of.
Yeah.
And so, just like you were thinking, has God has He had enough of us? His Lord had enough of us, and is He coming back? And but just like the gentleman said right there, the days have changed. It changed. I used to fly a lot, and yes, you could walk into the cockpit of an airplane if the pilot was in there.
Right.
You could go in there and say, "Hey, man." A good trip, and appreciate what you're doing. And,
I remember flying on one of the smaller planes, and they left the door open.
Yeah.
One of the small, and you could actually look out the front windshield of the plane. And I remember thinking I wouldn't do that again after I watched them land. You'd see the runway going across this way and going across that one. But he's going to miss the doggone runway.
Oh, my goodness, that's funny. So you ever been on an airplane and they said, hey, you can't sit on this side, you got to sit on the other side? I've done that.
Yeah.
So we were I got to give you a little airplane because you brought that up. We were in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Me and Roger Watson. Roger's probably listening also, but he'll remember this. There were some crazy things went on. We've been working in Chicago, and we took the Amtrak up to Kalamazoo, and we were working in the federal. They had a place there. I can't really talk about it, but we were snowed in Kalamazoo. We wanted to get home.
He's a spy.
And
he can't talk about it.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm not. That was not anything like that at all. It's just,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So anyway, and it was coming a great snowstorm. We're at the Kalamazoo airport, which is about the size of Lawrenceburg Airport.
Yeah.
And it's just snowing, and you can't call a cab and come get you or nothing like that. And so this guy just walks through the airport and he says, "I'm fixing to fly to St. Louis. You guys want to go?" Yes, sir. So we hop on his plane. He said, "You can't sit over. You got to split up. You can't sit on the same side. You
balance the plane.
You got to balance out the plane. That's exactly right.
You fly sideways if you don't.
I guess you do. But I guess on a slick runway, the danger is landing, not taking off. And this guy was brave enough to take off, and we got in the plane with him. So
how about that?
We got on the phone and said, "Hey, get us a ticket from St. Louis to Nashville."
That's funny.
That's exactly what happened.
That's good.
All right, so that 9/11 brings back a lot of memory. In fact, if you were to ask people today, what's the biggest event, life-changing, or the most defining event that's happened during your lifetime, most people today say 9/11.
Probably so.
Yeah. Where it used to be JFK.
What I'm amazed about too, though, is you remember after 9/11, there was a lot of patriotism that just
absolutely
boiled up, boiled up in the country. Okay?
I mean, people volunteered to go to war. I mean, basically what they did.
The flags were waving, and everybody was like, "Okay, they've messed with us, they've messed with our country," and blah blah blah. And of course, there was a lot of patriotism, but soon after that, not too long after that, the media turned on the president. If you'll remember.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and they begin, and it hasn't ceased.
That's right.
It's like it hasn't stopped.
That's right.
And I don't know why that is. You got any ideas?
I do, but I'm not going to say them out loud.
All right, go ahead. Never mind.
Because it will really open up the floodgates.
It would open up the floodgates.
My goodness. The reason I don't do that is because it gets me so upset, and sometimes I say things I shouldn't say when I get that way. Well, not anything vulgar or anything. I just...
Well,
we have our opinions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes we have strong opinions.
Yep.
And I do. I fall on the conservative side of everything pretty much.
I do too. The one thing I can be vocal about that's going on, I hate these folks who are heralded as whistleblowers in the government. Listen, if you've been given the privilege of having a secret clearance, a top secret clearance, and you have information, to come out and divulge that is just beyond me. Mm-hmm. Absolutely beyond me. And you're not a whistleblower; you're a coward in my book, and so. I don't know. It's just that's my.
Not even it helps the benefit the good.
Listen, we want to get in the conversation, but there's things that you might know or things that you may not know that are best not said. All right, and let me just give you an example of that. When President Trump, and I'll call him President Trump, I won't be like the media and call him Mr. Trump. He was our president, and
That's
just
exactly
like President Obama, he was our president. I call him President Obama. If he walked through the door, he's our president.
That's right.
So President Trump, when he got up, and the media really kills him because he said, "Oh, we're going to conquer this." When COVID came out, he said, "We're going to conquer this and everything." Well, listen, as the president of the United States, you can't stand up and say and paint a picture of doom and gloom.
Exactly.
It's right. Going to kill us all, and we're all going to be affected. You can't stand up and say that.
No, that's not what a leader would do.
That's exactly right. Well, there's things there's things I'll just put it in general terms. There's things in that world that are best left unsaid, regardless of the basis of the truth that they are. They're best left unsaid, and it's for the I guess the better purpose, the better overall purpose. Now, if it's illegal and completely illegal, maybe there's some room there. Okay.
Yeah.
And if anybody has any specific instances, we can talk about that. All right, so I'm off track. You're just about to get me worked up.
We went from having some fun to getting serious, didn't we?
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'll steer us back into the fun.
Good.
Okay, because you were talking about memories.
Yeah.
And what we remember, what we don't remember. You may not know this about me, but I write little poems.
No, I didn't know that.
I have a little habit or a hobby, I guess, of when it strikes me. I don't have a lot of them, but I have a few that I have written. And when you started this, it reminded me of one it was just a real short one.
Well, say it. I want to hear it.
My beginning is dim. My end is a riddle. Of course, my view right now is from the middle.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh,
So,
I didn't know you had it in you.
So, anyway, that's one of my little keepers.
Well, I like to learn something new every single day, and Jeff, I have learned something new about you. That's so.
I've got one about cleaning my toes too, but I won't read it.
Oh my! Cleaning your toes.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. Now, I don't think I can quote it all.
Oh, okay, so you got it written down somewhere?
I've got it written down, but it starts like this. I looked down at my toes. It'd been a while since I've seen them. They look kind of bad, so I decided to clean them.
That's going in the right direction. I like that.
So anyway,
You come up with some rhymes about toe jam and everything else.
But it's something everybody can relate to.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So I have a few. I have a
Cleaning
few of
Jeff's
those.
toes?
I don't know why it strikes me to do it, but I do that every once in a while.
Well, you might get a commercial. You ever thought about writing?
It's a way that I entertain myself.
Remember, Adam Sandler done that in one of his movies in Mr. Deeds.
Yes, he did. He wrote the greeting cards.
Greeting cards. You might be. You might can do that.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Very well. I want to ask a question, and then I'll hang up and listen. I just wonder how the buggy lane is working out, and I'll hang up and listen.
All right. Well, I haven't used it yet myself.
But I have seen the Amish using it, and here was my thought first. I thought there's not enough room on there for them to pass each other.
That's what I thought.
No,
But there is.
Yeah. But there is.
There's plenty of room. Yeah. And the other concern I had was if you have a horse traveling north and they're 8 inches or however thick that sidewalk is, if they're 12 inches away from oncoming traffic, what are they going to do? Is a horse going to go crazy? And so far, I have not seen that.
Yeah, I don't think those horses, they have among their horse trainers, they traffic train them.
Yeah.
They have to be traffic trained as well as.
Right.
And it can't be no
buggy
worse
train.
than on some of these roads where you're having to go around and you're right against them anyway.
Well, and it's not 100% complete yet, so the buggy lane won't be complete until the red lights are up.
Right.
They're up. but they're not operating.
That's right, until they're completely operating.
And that's the other thing. If you're headed north and you're in a buggy and you have to wait in the turning lane to try to get across,
yeah.
well, you don't have no buckets on the back of them horses. So
Right.
if you got to turn and go towards the old Jones Apparel building and stuff, if you got a new car, you might want to go a different way because you're fixing to get covered.
Covered in what?
Poo-poo.
Okay, there you go.
Horse manure.
Road apples.
Yeah.
That's what we call them.
But we have of course, that's where I go to test drive a lot, is up through that area, and I've noticed there's quite a bit of a collection.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So,
How about that?
and if you're a customer of ours, I do not drive through that because then I got to work on it and it's all over the car. So
The next time I bring my car to you, I'm going to run through some horse piles first.
well, you'd be
Then bring it to you.
you'd be right there with some of our farmers who like to do that. Go through
my
and
gosh.
inspect the cattle in the morning. and
Did I talk about this on our last radio show about the elders coming to see me at the
Elder who?
So when I was mayor,
Oh yes, you did.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
About the
poop bags.
the poop bags.
Somebody mentioned it,
Yeah.
and automatically
Yeah, and then Joyce calls me and says, "Hey, the Amish elders are here to see." I'm like, "What?"
they have an Amish spy. It was in your
I guess so.
government. See,
It didn't. Hey, and it was. So I got one more.
another one
I've
in
got one more
whistleblower.
date.
Got
You
one
know
more
how it
date?
is.
One
Okay.
more
I'm
date
sorry.
that lives in infamy.
Oh, okay.
All right. June the 29th, 2007. June 29th, 2007 is
January
a date
29th.
that will live in infamy.
2007.
Oh Lord, I don't know.
What you got it? Hey,
know.
listen, it
What's
is the
So it would have been.
I mean, I'll probably
spring,
remember the event when
summer.
you tell me, but I just don't remember by date.
so it is. Let me tell you, it is the event that has affected more people on the face of Earth than COVID.
Well, I was going to say COVID, but
No,
but
COVID
not
happened in
COVID.
2019.
Oh no! You talk to some people. It's been.
It's been around for
a while.
years.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that would have been spring, summer.
And this date is almost unremembered, and it's affected more people on the planet of Earth than probably any other event. And in fact, as of today's number, 6.92 billion people on the face of the Earth are affected by it. Does anybody have a clue? And that's 85.88% of the world's population. So I am trying to
Well,
be.
apparently it didn't affect us too much.
Listen, I think I'm going to get a T-shirt. I'm trying to be part of the 14.12. That's what I want. I want to be part of the 14.12. I'm getting you all these clues, and you can't figure it out. All right. So I'll give you a hint. I'll just tell you what it is.
All right.
It was the day the iPhone was released. You can buy the iPhone. Now listen, I built you all over.
Oh my
Let's
God.
think about that. How much that has changed the world.
And I'm supposed to remember that.
I need to set a
Do you have
reminder
one?
on my
You've got
iPhone.
one, though,
Yeah,
don't you?
I've had several.
Yeah,
I've
you've
got
had
the
several.
new one right now.
Can you live without it?
Well, yeah, but not very well.
So I'm the same way. But listen, 2 years
It'd be
ago,
rough, wouldn't it?
2 years ago, I thought I am going to work my way out of my phone.
Oh my gosh.
Because I don't know, to me, it's more of a nuisance. And people that know me know that because I lose my phone. Kevin can tell you this. I lose my phone all the time because I
Constantly.
don't keep
You
up
think
with
my
it.
phone?
Well, and then I can't leave
So
without
now
it.
you have become an irritant.
Yes. So
What,
if
he call you ignorant?
if 85.88% of the world have it, I want to be part of the 14.12. And I think I'm going to get me a shirt that says 14.12. And when people ask me that,
So you
I'll say,
won't have a phone.
that's right. I want to be part of the 14.12. And then people ask me, hey, what's 14.12 stand for? I said, that's the amount of people or the percentage of the people in the world that don't have a smartphone.
How about that? How about
So,
that? We're running out of time.
yeah, we
quickly.
are running out of time. And it's
got about
getting,
a
we're getting
minute or
close.
so.
All right, so what we're going to talk about, what about the strike that's going midnight tonight? Kevin, what's your thoughts on that?
It does not affect me.
It does not affect you. Well,
I didn't even know we were going to do one.
so listen, what these, UAW may strike tonight at midnight. And
Okay, well, bless their hearts.
Do you see what they're asking for? They're asking for a 32-hour work week with 40 hours pay, and they're asking for a 40% pay increase on top of that, plus 4 or 5% increases over the life of the contract. So, oh my goodness,
All I gotta say, how did I get in this deal?
how do you get in this deal? I don't know.
You know my boss. I'm fixing to tell him something.
All I gotta say is, if you want your company in that deal, jump on CNN and tell the world that you made more money than you ever made in the company's history. Then the workers will revote.
Well-
that's what's happening.
But the company's made to make money. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to make money.
I know it.
Anyway.
I know it.
All right.
Are we close? Hey, we got an orange Corvette, and Kevin worked on it yesterday.
Man,
Jeff,
Tennessee
you've been
orange.
wanting to do the drive yourself car. You need to drive the Corvette.
I'll be up there.
it
in
has
a
Z
couple of
mode
minutes.
on it.
I'm taking you up there. That's
I'm
right.
headed up there with you just as soon as we're done.
Exactly right.
As soon as we're done. That's right. We do have to go, guys.
All right.
Hey, it's been fun. It's been real,
Yeah.
but not real fun.
Oh, man. Can't you believe that?
Another report shows inflation rising back up. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The day after we learned consumer prices went up in August month to month and year over year.